Okay, everybody, welcome to a new broadcast of New Lunar Radio. Yes, a new broadcast of New Lunar Radio.
So
I'm your host, Jay Brony, and the guy who I just trampled all over is Darkle.
you didn't allow me to do a voice, and now you're doing a voice.
It was an accident. I'm sorry. Do you want to do your voice real quick?
Nah, I'll throw it in there. Maybe.
All right. So this week we have a very special guest with us, and it's Raynaron from Raynaron Games. Yay!
Hey everybody.
Hey.
Hooray!
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do our normal show. We're gonna do some news, and then we'll get into a nice little interview with Raynaron here. But first up, our news from last week-ish, somewhere in there. So first story we have up here, well, not really a story, just more of a mention that Megan McCarthy is the conductor on the season 4 hype train, and she just keeps she's got the throttle pegged, or whatever you call it, on the train. So it's chugging on down the road, particularly talking about how they pack so much amazing animation into one episode and things of that nature. So yeah, season 4, it's coming. What do you think about that, Dargle?
I just think that's usual. But I'm not really hyped. I need to make a Twitter post. Ha ha ha!
It is truly season 4 hype train. I mean, it's not even. It's how many months away now? A couple.
There's a website for it.
You get us the countdown.
I'm using my elite hacker skills. 93 days, 0 hours, 57 minutes, 20 seconds.
And it's only gonna get worse. So, yay, hyper beasting. Next up, we have a nice little video from Bonnie Zacharel. She was at a convention, I guess, and somebody asked her about what she thinks of the brony phenomenon and adult and people outside the demographic, or at least the predefined demographic by society, what she thought about that. And it was pretty cool that she came back and replied that she had initially envisioned the toys that she had designed that turned into the My Little Pony franchise to appeal to kindergarten-aged boys and girls. So not just girls. So, and she was, she wasn't like super excited about the brony fandom, but she said that she was glad that it appealed to people outside of the range, and she pretty much said that it's probably because the show is geared that way. So, she didn't, it was just kind of a nice little shout out that the in her mind, the toys were originally envisioned for both genders. So that is a cool little video. I'd suggest everybody check that out. It's on it's missappaloosada.tumblr.com. But the other big news that came out of last week was from Gen Con. Either of you guys pay attention to any of the Gen Con news at all?
I didn't pay too much attention to it.
No?
Me neither.
Well, the big
We
thing...
are so proactive in this fandom.
I mean, it's probably worse for me because I don't even know what Gen Con is.
Gen Con is, if I remember correctly,
I believe it's a long con of some sort.
It's a long con?
Something about
They play it.
Gen stuff.
It's for like tabletop role-playing games and card games and stuff of that. Pretty much anything that you could get from Wizards of the Coast, like that kind of stuff. So
That makes sense.
So at Gen Con, like had been previously announced by crap, I just forgot their name. The
Interplay?
Yeah, Enterplay. previous announced by Interplay, they were going to have game demos of the My Little Pony collectible card game. Something that, as you may or may not know, I'm very excited for. Finally, cards with purpose. So,
Yeah.
not just something that you get and put in a book.
Are you saying you hate books?
No, I'm not saying I hate books, but I may hate books that have useless cards in them.
So you hate stamp books?
Yes, maybe. So but Gen Con did happen, and they followed through, and they had a demo of the card game, and it looks pretty darn cool. So the overall gist of it is there was a video and a bunch of pictures of the cards, and somebody put out scans of all the cards, but Interplay kept the rule sheets. Like, they took the rule sheets back after you played. You got to keep the decks, but the rule sheets got removed. So nobody posted the rules, but somebody did in the video I mentioned. They broke down how the game is played, and it's all right. Hopefully this is just the beta demo phase, and hopefully they improve on it. But, like, for example, I know everybody will find it groan worthy, even though I don't necessarily really care. You get one main character that has two different phases. One is the normal starting phase, and then the other one is the 20% cooler phase, which
Grown.
I could see how that's, hopefully that gets changed, but honestly I don't really care. So but it doesn't play much like anything I've ever played before. I guess the way that, if I'm remembering the video, it's been a couple of days since I watched it. There's problems that you have to solve, and you solve the problems by taking cards out of your deck, and you get things like helper ponies or things that you can put on the problems, so it makes it harder for the other people to solve the problems. And literally, it's whoever solves when you solve the problem, you get so many points for how many cards that you had in play, and then the first person to 15 points wins. So there is talk that it seems like there might be a lot of luck based on draw, but then there is also a lot of talk that it might be more that shouldn't be considered a luck element so much as it could be considered a random element. So hopefully they feel it out and are really hopefully they get it better. Hopefully that somebody said that since you get more, you get something more. The more points you have, it ramps up. You get more power based on the points that you have, and somebody said that it's kind of turns into OP. Like, somebody gets just really powerful, and it makes it hard for the other person to come back and win. So
once you get going, you start snowballing.
Yeah, it's the snowball effect, and hopefully they can kind of tweak it out, get it going well, and before the cards come out in November. So what I'm looking forward to is the final rule set. The cards look nice. They look good. They're designed well, and they're very pretty. Of course, other than the minor groan-worthy phrasing of the 20% cooler phase, or whatever you want to call it. So, but that's pretty much a lowdown on the cards as far as we have right now. So, and that's probably about the last that we'll hear about them or see about them, other than little minor updates till about November when they come out for real. So,
you tend to put together the show, so I doubt that.
Well, I just meant in general as the fandom, not necessarily for the show. I'll probably talk about them again, and about how I'm excited that they're coming. So
I have a question. Do you know what the problems are?
The problems are they go out and they show them in the video, and I could find it where they lay out all the cards. So I'm not exactly sure what all the problems. It's things like they're based on the episodes. So like mystery on the mystery. What the hell is the name of that episode? The one with the freaking cake.
Mystery on the Friendship Express?
Yes, and stuff like that. So those are the problems. They only had like 5 different or 10 different problems and they said that there would be more. So Raynaron, do you have any interest in the collectible card game? Have you at all, or is
not really, I suppose. I mean, it's interesting, but I haven't been into cards for quite a while. Like, I don't play Magic or anything like that.
Right.
I just wait until someone makes an online version and then play the online version.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the overall idea is it's definitely geared more towards kids. Like, that's the kind of learning curve that they have, and a lot of people were like, well, you don't need a steep learning curve to have a good game, just have it all in the meta. And they used, Magic the Gathering for the reference, right? And it's like, yeah, it's like, well, the rules are simple, but the cards make it hard, and it's like, yeah, I guess I could see that, but
Pokemon cards were made for kids, but you know that when you show up to one of those competitions, there'll be some adults who's like, ah ha 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 ha.
I have more money than you, so therefore I just win.
I have this deck that's made, and not random cards of the same type.
Yeah, that's why a lot of those tournaments end up devolving into just random deck draws and stuff like that, and it's weird, but hopefully it works out for the better, because I'm really interested that it'll take off. So next up, last show we talked a little bit about the YouTube coloring when you search for a specific pony name, and a couple people, it was kind of circulating that it was maybe just part of the YouTube Geek Week stuff, and YouTube Geek Week ended at the end of last week, and not only did they not take down the pony stuff, they made more pony stuff. So
yet they still haven't included Cadence.
Cadence is not included yet. No, if you type in Princess Cadence, you get it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yep.
You have Princess.
Yeah, you like Princess Luna. You can't just type in Luna. You have to type in Princess Luna and Nightmare Moon and stuff like that. So
interesting one I haven't tried. Do you have to do Princess Twilight Sparkle or just Twilight Sparkle?
Twilight. Or just
Twilight works?
Just Twilight Sparkle works, not Twilight.
It's spelled Cadence wrong.
They spelled it. I'm not good with the spelling.
Even though both spellings are used in the show credits, I am a firm believer in the Cadance.
Ah, okay. So, per your headcanon, it is wrong.
Well, for correctness.
Okay. All right. The other thing that kind of happened on YouTube after the Geek Week was over is, if you search now for bronies, you get the little ponies running back and forth across, but they have diapers on. So
that's what that is. I was wondering what that was.
It could be a jab that were giant man children, or that were babies.
Huh.
But
I thought maybe it was because they're just like, well, I don't want to deal with cutie mark whatever's.
See, but if you search,
I didn't make the connection that it was diapers. So I'm like, oh, okay. I was wondering why it was like weird looking.
Yeah, it's if you search for My Little Pony, though, they have the ponies that run across, and they have like little teeny tiny cutie marks that you can't really make out. So, or maybe they don't. I can't remember. But
so you have it's not just bronies that works. It's also just My Little Pony.
Yeah, if you type in My Little Pony, you get normal pony, the same ponies that run across the screen, except they don't have diapers on.
So that even reinforces that jab even more.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I can take a good jab from here to there,
Yeah.
but
So hey, they still put ponies running across the screen. It's awesome.
yeah, it's still cool. They pretty much are, you know, they're geeking out over it, and that's fine. So that's totally okay with me. What's next? Yes, My Little Pony comic.
Of course, there's comic mentions this week, every week.
Every week there's comic mentions because, well, as Darkle said, I put together the show and, you know, things make it in there that I like. So, I really like the...
And as Jay said, he can take jabs.
I can take jabs. So, lay it on. Lay it on. But
Ooh,
the...
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Now you go first.
Oh, okay. I was just going to talk about how they announced the comic cover gallery issue, which is nice for people who don't want to collect all the comics with the variant covers, because there's some pretty rare ones going to be in there. So that's the MLP series has gotten pretty famous for having a billion variants to its covers, which lots of comics do, but nowhere have I seen it to this level. It becomes pretty ridiculous how many sometimes there's up to 20 variants per issue, and that's a lot. So the cover gallery book will help kind of allow you to see them and get them without having to actually buy them. So, and it'll only be $4, so it'll be the same price as a normal issue. So if you're at all interested in the comic, that is something that you should look into. I'm waiting for that jab, Dark. Or is it going to come from me in the night?
Here's a jab.
Guy.
Knife.
Knifed.
Dagger.
I got knifed.
Rapier.
Raynaron, have you ever I'm sorry. Have you ever dabbled in the comic at all? The official IDW comic?
Yeah, I suppose I could say that. One of the days I was out with my friends, and I'd heard about the comics, and I went to a comic book store and was like, to my amazement, that there's pony comics on the walls. I'm like, what? But I've never owned comics before, so I don't really know how they work. So I just bought one, I guess, of the Nightmare Moon or Nightmare Rarity arc. I think it was like issue number 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
I got it, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And I'm like, when I got it, I had no idea it was like the 7th one in it. So I'm like, was lost for a second. So I'm like, oh, I'm like way into this already. And then I had to like learn like what an arc was and how that all works. It was like this whole new thing that like a friend of mine had to teach me about.
Right, arc is like a boat.
Yeah, right. It's like a little, circular, traveling line thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it goes from one point in a sweeping motion to another point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Have you read the latest Cutie Mark Crusader one?
No, I have not. I'm not caught up on the Cutie Mark Crusader issue yet.
Gasp.
Yeah, the gasp. I know. I'm not.
But you always read everything.
Yeah, I still haven't read the books that you said that I should read either. So.
What a shock! I hate reading.
But. You
like reading when there's pictures involved.
I know, but.
But when there's no pictures.
I'm like a child. I need pictures in my reading. So, hopefully soon I will not only read the books but the new Cutie Mark Crusader.
Is that like actual soon or Steam time soon?
Steam time soon. Though I don't think I've ever, correlated Steam time soon than to like my daily actions. It might be.
Steam time soon?
Yeah, what is Steam time soon? Come on, Dark.
Valve takes forever to release everything.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh. Do you maybe mean Valve time soon?
But it's Steam time.
Steam time.
Yes, I couldn't think of Valve right away, so I went with Steam.
Okay, so if you could, it's same diff, I guess.
Yeah.
Technically, that company runs, Steam. So, speaking of things that are a ways off, but we still hear about them all the time, the Funko figurines, vinyl collectibles, have the newest ones out are Lyra and Pinkie Pie. They were just released recently, but somebody managed to find a Spitfire and quote unquote Sweetie Drops vinyl figurine, which we'd only ever seen prototypes of the Spitfire. We hadn't even seen Sweetie Drops. By the way, Sweetie Drops is the canon name of Bon Bon.
Bon Bon.
Yeah, so if you're slightly confused by that, that's Sweetie Drops is Bon Bon. So it's
What does Sweetie Drop?
I see this image here on Equestria Daily. It says Doctor Who's possibly
Yes.
up there.
Yes.
They have that up there?
Yep, there is a vinyl figurine of Doctor Who's, which is just Time Turner with the tie on. So that's
awesome that they put that in there.
Yeah, and the derpy one doesn't actually say derpy; it just says "I heart" and then her
And
face.
a derpy face.
Yeah, and then a derpy face. So it doesn't actually say derpy. So
But is the figurine derped?
oh yes, I'm looking at it right now, and it is indeed very dirt. I've said many times on the show that these are my favorite pony figurines, and I will probably, if I continue to collect any sort of figurine or anything for the show, these will probably be the ones that I continue to get from now until whenever. I don't feel like that I need to collect any of the Hasbro produced dolls at all or anything like that. So, and of course, Stark doesn't buy merchandise. So,
well, remember months and months ago when we talked about the cupcake? Let me get the name. Cupcake keepsake toys.
Yeah.
That we never found a picture of.
Right.
I have a picture.
Oh my goodness.
I'll put it straight into the document at the end after the word says interview.
Okay, so we'll
I
talk.
can't edit this. You privatize. I'm putting it in Skype.
Yeah. Okay, that works too. So.
Bam.
Last
Oh my
little.
God.
Yeah. So yeah, the thing that we're looking at is a derpy
That's awesome.
that has that looks like a cupcake. I mean, she has a little pony body, but
The head is cupcake.
yeah, the head is a cupcake.
And her hair is like frosting like.
Yeah, her hair is very cupcake frosting. It has ears
Yeah.
and wall-eyed face.
And it's in a glass bell jar case thing.
Yeah, that you would see a cupcake in a bakery.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cute. I don't think that I'd ever buy it because it also looks kind of creepy. But it is what it is.
I would like to think that it ties into a certain piece of fan fiction.
Yes.
it might tie into that need not be named fan fiction. So
Will not be named.
Will not be named.
We named it.
Yeah, but yeah, whatever.
The good side effect of that little piece, if non-Brony walked in and saw it, he just kind of created a little awkward moment of silence for a moment as he studied it.
Yeah. What is that? Why does it have wings and frosting hair and this is just too weird. You're too weird. I'm not gonna talk to you anymore. Thanks. Bye. And I'd be like, oh, that's no fun. But another topic that we like to bring up is, since it kind of, the news of it first dropped when we came back to start broadcasting again, so we've been there from the beginning of Equestria Girls, the saga of
it might have been a spin-off show.
When we thought that it might have been like a total spin-off show, and it was that first snippet of art that was in the New York Times article where they looked terrible, and they still kind of do, but they're better now. But So we're getting towards the end. Of course, the end of the saga, in my opinion, would be when it finally airs on the hub in October. I think they're gonna air it. So, perfectly good for Halloween, right?
Totally. That's totally gonna be my Halloween costume.
That's right. Normally I'm a pony, but now I'm a human being with wings.
If I had actually like $50, I could probably pay someone to make me.
Well, all you need is like, some, since your ponification of that you use is green, you just need some sickly green paint to put all over your skin and a nice wig that.
You even go with skirt and blouse and everything.
Yeah.
Giant boots.
I actually do know a person that makes clothing like that. The person offered me, if I paid her $20, she'd make me a cloak.
A cloak?
A cloak.
Nice. A cloak.
I know.
So, the next piece here in the saga is that the DVD was released along with the Blu-ray, and according to Shout Factory, the people who that press the DVDs and sell them.
It all makes sense now. They're Shout Factory, so when the people heard about the movie, they shouted in horror, and that's where the name comes from.
Shout Factory. But they're also the ones who put out like the season DVD sets and the full season DVD sets that are available, and the like those DVD pack-in ones that you get with like the toys and stuff like that. Like they all that Shout Factory makes all of that. But according to their COO, I believe that's Chief Operations Officer.
Yeah.
They have their retail orders for Equestria Girls exceed 100,000 units, more than any title in their 10-year history of being a company. So this is the most sellingest DVD for Shout Factory, which therefore means it outsells any of the season or Generation 4 My Little Pony products.
Right.
I don't know what that says about, I wonder how much that plays into the fact that it was in movie theaters and it's a movie, so it being available on YouTube wasn't really a thing compared to like the episodes or whatnot, but it's pretty impressive that it's pretty popular. I mean, we all thought the worst was coming when they announced it, and it seems
Shout Factory.
Shout Factory. So yeah, it's they and also Hasbro and Shout Factory are going to ink. It looks like they might ink more deals, which include quote unquote My Little Pony animated family adventures, which look like they're like the older generation 2 and 3 like movies, like the small movies that they did for those generations. So
like direct to TV.
Yeah, the direct to TV stuff, not the 80s movie that they put out, but I think I'm pretty sure that like Warner Brothers or whoever owns, there's a major studio behind that one, and they still own the rights to make the DVDs for that. So, but that's cool. And last little bit of Equestria Girls news. We talked about it last show, the costumes, the creepy costumes for we saw Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, and Twilight Sparkle. Or no, we saw Pinkie Fluttershy and Twilight Sparkle and who else? Pinkie Pie, yeah. But now we have gotten a glimpse of the other three. And all I have to say is it's still super creepy, and it's still
I don't understand why they need costumes. They're people.
It's still super creepy, and the hat.
Oh my god, the giant hat.
I love that guy in the middle.
Yeah.
He's like, get back with your fire. These are people inside.
There's people inside. But yeah, Applejack's hat is just it is it's definitely one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, there's a strap on it that goes down around her chin, and that's the only reason that hat is staying on the top of the head. Like,
I'm surprised they just didn't sew it into the wig.
It probably is but like just the way it's sitting on the top of it's just like that's not on your head. That's just on top of it. Like,
so are we ever going to get a video of this?
I don't know. I think what happens is people turn on their camcorders and like they get at home and it just turns into like the Ring video where like they climb out of the TV and then they die in 7 days. So like it never gets posted online. It'll be like on a VHS that gets passed around like in 10 years from now or something like that. So, you know, then you get like a creepy phone call and it's Pinkie Pie on the other side. You have 10 days. You have 7 days to live. And then we'll have a party. So yeah, something like that. You know, yeah, all the good stuff, right?
Good stuff.
The good stuff. It's the good stuff. So that's pretty much the end of our news segment. I guess it's time for the interview. Interview time. Yay!
What?
So first I want to take a minute here to just kind of spout. Our guest again is Raynaron, and he is the head and current lead developer at Raynaron Games. Imagine that. It's named after him.
What?
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I mean, it's not called Game Time.
Game Time. Hey, it's a perfectly fine name, and I just wanted to say that he's currently the lead developer on a game that he's making, that his company is making, that his game development company is making, called the Guild of Unicorns.
Well, at least you recognize which race is best race.
So, the first question I wanted to ask is, in your own words, explain to our guests who may have never seen it, what is the Guild of Unicorns?
All right, let's see. Basically, I really like the style of open world games, like, you know, you play Skyrim or something like that. And my favorite thing sometimes about playing games like that is when you first start playing and you're just in awe and immersed in the whole environment and you just like hang out and enjoy the world.
Mm-hmm.
I basically, and there's some other influences from like say like Dragon's Dogma or things like that where it's like a nice third person experience with the open world type of thing.
Right.
So I wanted to incorporate like a third person aspect and really focus on just drawing in and immersing the player into the world. So everything's like living and breathing and interactable, and try to, I guess, pull out as much quality as I can in terms of like animation stuff, so it really looks convincing.
Yeah. So you're going for like a Skyrim style third person open world game where you play as a unicorn, run around and do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would like some of my big ideas for the gameplay aspect of it was I really wanted to have the player feel a sense of like they're really learning magic, where you would actually see the your unicorn character really like actually struggle with magic at first, and it's actually sluggish to use, and you get better and better at it so that as you practice or actually study, like you know how Sakura was actually training Twilight, kind of had to like fully focus on studying to improve the magic.
Yeah.
Kind of thing where you would do things like that.
Darko, go ahead.
The obvious Star Wars ripoff?
Yeah. The obvious Star Wars training montage ripoff.
Yes. Just like, train.
Yes.
Yes. Do or do not. There is no try.
Exactly. Interesting ideas of how to make it where one of the things also kind of annoyed me if I'm gonna have a little bit of combat in it,
Mm.
Maybe not be totally focused on it, but I'll have mechanics built for it. But one of my main things that's always kind of feeds me in other games is that your character can get hurt by stuff and like shot with bullets or something like that, right? And you're like, well, that's not very realistic,
Right.
kind of thing. I wanted to make a system where your unicorn actually never really gets hurt. It's more of like, you use magic, and if you're using it in like a focused, concentrated way to defend yourself or whatever you're doing, you can do it without too much strain. But you also have a type of concept where you have like instinct magic, where even if you failed to anticipate or block whatever it is that's like threatening you or something, your magic would still actually go into effect and defend you from it. But you would, add a great strain and like surprise kind of effect. You would see that in the
Right.
character's response.
Right. Almost kind of like a self-preservation instinct, but
Yeah,
since it's something that you aren't controlling and focusing, it makes a big it's big strain on you.
yeah, and you can do fun things with it too. Like it's more of like how we would just react to something kind of thing, but they could reach out with magic and do it in the same sense, basically.
Right.
Something's falling over or something like that, they could just snap it with levitation or something, just grab it. But since they didn't really intend to do it, it's not it's gonna have
Yeah.
more strain on say their
Yeah.
certain attributes that control their magic.
Yeah. Kind of like if you're in like a situation like your adrenaline starts pumping and your brain reacts faster, your body reacts faster,
Right.
but after it's all said and done, you feel like really drained and like you because it takes a lot out of you, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I can see how that
It
works.
could be interesting. And plus it gives me it's that way the character doesn't have to like deal with dying or something or constantly resetting the game or something like that. If it was like bad enough where like you're holding up a whole avalanche back with shielding, but then you fail, you're holding that spell up, but if you are failing, then your instinct magic would say teleport you out to safety. But
Yeah.
you're not gonna really control where you teleport or how nicely you're gonna teleport.
Right. Yeah, you
Things
could
are,
teleport like 10 feet above the ground or like
which
5
is
feet
gonna
above.
be
Yeah, yeah.
a fun mechanic to do of like when you're training. Okay, I'm gonna learn how to teleport. You're like, okay, I'm gonna teleport over here, and it is not gonna go over there. That's
Yeah.
gonna be fun to do, or
Yeah. Yeah.
that'll be like the fun part. And I want to do things where more like a home life simulation stuff. I like the idea of being able to like interact with other NPCs and also have like companions for your adventure
Mhm.
kind of thing. So you probably have like one significant other character. I'm not exactly sure how, but it would be kind of fun to make maybe a little bit of a love story out of it. Could be interesting. Which
Ooh.
and I want to do
Risque.
like, well, maybe not that far, but just fun, kind of fun
Dang
stuff.
it.
If you played like Fable or something like that, how they could do little dates and stuff and interact
Yeah.
with each other, that kind of thing.
It,
Maybe to that degree.
it was always the most fun I ever had in Fable 2 was like coming home to my homely wife and giving her like new cakes and stuff like that, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden like you'd come back a couple days later or a couple weeks later and it's like, oh, there's a kid. Okay, here you go, kid, have this little
Yeah.
doll, and stuff like that. So
But I want to expand on it where more like you would actually have like a gameplay aspect of just living at home where you could maybe do farming work and actually like you could craft and prepare food, eat food, and
mhm.
actually sleep and do things like that, and conversations or whatever you could do
So
if there was
cooking
that kind of
magic.
interaction. Like maybe even like cooking magic, that'd be cool. I mean, because using magic makes it a lot much easier to interact with objects. Trying to do like a Pegasi or Earth Pony actually picking stuff up is going to be difficult.
Right.
Because I want
So
to do things where like if you the items you carry would actually have to be able to be carried on your physical person. So you lift things up and drop it into your saddlebags and carry it around.
yeah.
So make it real immersive. Because you wouldn't necessarily need a lot of equipment because it's kind of like in real life you don't carry a whole bunch of like stuff.
Yeah, yeah, you have
You've obviously never seen my pockets.
but
Um,
yeah, so it sounds like in this might not be on the first iteration, but maybe is there some semblance of thinking about maybe some multiplayer type stuff going on here,
um,
or
I think, I mean, it would be really nice to be able to do multiplayer. The only things that are really keeping me back from it is, I guess, particularly, I don't have too much experience in actual like network programming stuff
right?
to do multiplayer and like server stuff to run it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it would also be and making sure I could still have the same uh, quality of graphics output kind of thing. Like, because I have a lot of like physics simulation and stuff like that going on, with, like the
Yeah.
dresses and hair and stuff. I wonder how well that would translate to other characters. And if you had like other people playing, moving around stuff, sometimes they could break the realistic look of the game because they move as a person rather than like
Yeah,
realistic.
yeah.
Like they always run and they always jump around and do crazy stuff. But I could
Right.
definitely see like a like an offshoot thing where it could be there could be fun stuff to do with like models and take them because since mine's gonna be more of a medieval setting,
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
fun to do maybe more of a futuristic thing and do like I've always liked the idea of being able to make the ponies like respond to like music and make them dance. So it'd be cool to do like a club atmosphere thing. You could be online and you could just like it could be you could do some hilarious system where you have to do combination buttons where you can control their movement, which would be funny. So then you could like dance off or something, whatever. That could be cool. Or just generally just be there to chat and hang out.
So,
Or
Cool.
yeah,
go on. Sorry. Go on.
um,
I
I
go
could see
first.
how it wouldn't be too bad also to have that big open world possibly able to be usable, kind of like how Legends of Equestria works, how they have like the whole environment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely something that's cool. And yeah, the I could see what you mean about the breaking the realism because I definitely do notice that in games like that where you start
Right.
you start seeing people moving around as the characters and you're just like that just doesn't like it doesn't look like another person. Like if you've ever watched somebody play Skyrim third person, it's kind of weird. Not necessarily
Right.
because it's always first person, but like the way the character moves, it just doesn't flow right compared to how you're used to seeing everybody else in the world, right? So
Right. So like say if you imagine someone who say he doesn't play games much comes to watch it, right? And they like see a gamer able to play because you play as like a game eventually. But there's
right,
a whole different way you play if you try to make it look realistic. So you walk more and you like look around more, trying to make it look more realistic rather than just flailing around, battling stuff. I mean, eventually, if you get that kind of gameplay, you kind of need to be able to break realism a little bit.
right,
But it would be nice. Like one of my goals would be really cool to make the animation as smooth as like Assassin's Creed
mm,
where the everything from like just accelerating to movement to your movement speed to slowing down, you actually like could see the blending down speed kind of
right,
stuff,
yeah,
or it, just interacting with the world and stuff like that could be
yeah,
cool. Responding to things, especially particularly when you're using magic or something where you see the character strain with it or just move with it and you're looking around aiming it or however it would do it.
right. So yeah, the next question I have is what got you started working on the Guild of Unicorns?
Um, Not that long ago, I guess. I actually like officially started working on it maybe what a month or two ago, kind of thing like that. But um, a lot of work has already gone in the background of just like you're learning the tools and stuff like that. Like
Mm,
about I've like 2 years or so experience in Maya just since I started working on I was getting my bachelor's in computer science. The last couple of years I was working in it, and only about the last few months of it I started particularly like learning how to animate the characters and stuff because mostly it was just just working with the Gmod like ponies and just figuring out how to make them move skeletons and all that stuff.
yeah,
Just getting them there. And then after school, I kind of realized, well, maybe I could combine programming with my little side project here with using a game engine. So I just kind of just downloaded UDK and started working with it.
right,
So it's like about 6 8 months now, learning that and getting stuff in it.
sweet. The what previous background did you have in any game development other than like you said you'd been working with Maya for 2 years, but was there any code any UT mods or Quake mods or anything like that in the past or
Nothing like that. It's kind of actually first experience doing any kind of game stuff. I never actually even really got into modding stuff, even when it was easy. It was just kind of like I just play whatever vanilla stuff. I always had interest in doing it, but never really got into it. It's funny how like now is the time I'm actually like learning everything about it.
that's good. You mentioned Maya as a tool that you're using, and
Right.
you briefly mentioned the
UDK,
the
Unreal
UDK,
Development Kit.
yeah, the Unreal Development Kit. What other tools are you using? What other tools of the trade are you using to bring Guild of Unicorns to life?
The newest tool I recently discovered after working for a little bit at an indie studio is ZBrush.
Okay.
That basically makes it so, because originally in Maya I had to build like polygon by polygon model out the mesh kind of thing, and then manually, unwrap it so I could put, textures on it, things like that. It was painstaking.
Mm-hmm.
But ZBrush makes it where you could just sculpt like clay and just not even worry about the polygon flow or anything like that. It's just more artistic, so you could just sculpt it and then have it just calculate and do it for you, and also just unwrap it and actually do it nicely and just paint directly on it. It basically speeds up immensely the workflow to create characters. So like my newest characters now are fully created in that software. Before, I was using the Gmod KP Shadow Squirrels models, the Gmod ones, because I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't really model anything or really adjust it. I mean, you can in Maya, but it's just more difficult.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good program. So it's mainly those three. I go basically start with ZBrush, and of course like a 2D editing software, like I use Painter, Corel Painter. It's a
Yeah.
little bit of a pain in the ass to use. I'd probably rather use Photoshop, but it's a little bit difficult to get.
Right.
So basically, use that a little bit for sketching or whatever, but then ZBrush for sculpting it, and then Maya for doing all the building the rig and stuff to animate it and
Yeah.
set up the eyes and physics stuff for it, and then I can move it into the game engine.
What's the hardest part of what you've been doing so far? Is it the animation of it? Is it the building the pony itself, or is it even as hard as like coding anything like the run cycles or something like that? Like,
It's slightly hard to say. I mean, it's interesting as I'm working, even now. I mean, of course, it's like as I'm working in the engine, it's all brand new. Like I've never done it before. Like some of like the next challenges I'm going to do is figure out like say when you have uneven terrain or something, how to get the character to react to it and actually like lower their legs or raise their legs based on if they're standing on something that's not
Right.
uneven. Things like that. Like I've never done it before. Like, so we'll figure out how to do that. That could be could be difficult, could be not. It just it's more of the not knowing exactly what you need or how to go about doing it, like the workflow part. But they have pretty good documentation that tells you how to do it.
right.
It's not too bad.
It's,
But interestingly, some of the more difficult things I find difficult is just coming up with like concepts, just the 2D sketch work of like, all right, I want a hairstyle for this character. And like to come up with a hairstyle,
right.
like it's difficult. If I had it all done and just modeling it up would be really quick. But it's just that initial design to
Yeah.
figure out is hard.
Yeah. It kind of you need that artistic drive to like develop the character first, and then you just make it come to life with the 3D model. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why it's taken me a long time to like. I really want to like make a pony Sona for myself. I'm like, how am I gonna make it look like okay? It's gonna be interesting. And then like don't get started like cutie mark. I'm like, what is
Right.
that gonna be? I have no idea. Something with game design. I don't know what.
Yeah.
You just take the route I took when I created mine. Just be as lazy as possible.
Take an existing character and just make it a different
You're
color.
like I like that guy's hair and that one's tail and that one's color scheme just combined.
I think actually sitting down and making one for yourself is the hardest that you can make.
Yeah, because
It
you
has
have
to
to
be
like. It's almost like
focused.
battling with yourself of like, okay,
Mhm.
you know, how would I perceive myself as a pony? It's like, there's so many options. Where can I narrow that down? But you see someone else's, and you're like, that looks really good. And
that
you're like, why
that
can't I make mine look like that?
that's.
I-
Go ahead, Dirk.
I believe they made a movie about that kind of called Gattaca.
Really?
Geneticism.
the the way that I took it upon myself is I talked to a good friend who happens to be a good artist. It's Cogler, friend of the show. And I said, here's a picture of me. And here's some colors that I'd like to use on the pony. Draw me, like, take an outside perspective, like a truthful outside perspective, and since you have drawing skills, draw me like you would think that I'd look like a pony. and she was able to do that for me, and that's where it came from. Now, the cutie mark, on the other hand, is something entirely different. If you've noticed, my pony hasn't really shown his flank in any picture yet so far, and that might be for a specific reason, as I have yet to figure that out. So,
Because you don't want any dirty fan art of it?
well, I didn't say that. But speaking of ponies in general, what drew you in? When and how were you drawn into the pony fandom? Like,
It's interesting. It was back when I got into DeviantArt from like different like animated film stuff, and I was just kind of on it. And I made a few friends, and I think it was I must have went on like a summer vacation, had no internet connection or whatever, and then I came back and I looked at my friend's gallery from like backwards, right? So I started like his most recent stuff, and it was of these pony characters, right? I'm looking through it until I get farther and farther back. I remember the sensation of what it looked like when I was looking at him, having no idea who they were, so you had no significance on them. So you're like, they looked strange. You're like, what? That's interesting. It's strange. And then after getting to the end of it, I kind of was just remembered it actually looked really good. It looked interesting. But and then a little bit later, I kind of started seeing more and more of it. And I think it was actually shortly after season 1 ended. So that was all out already. So then I got into watching like the first 2 kind of thing. And I found myself a little bit lost, and then eventually, but it was decent. It was nice animation. I was pleasantly surprised. And then it just kind of slowly got into it, mainly, because I liked it, but it was so much vibrancy in the whole fandom of it. Like I could already see it like quickly how many people were into it and supported it. So it made it fun to jump into it, because if you did artwork or something like that, there's already a magnitude of people that would appreciate it.
right.
Kind of thing. So it's real appealing to just expand into and explore it and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how I got into it. It's funny how even eventually it like dragged my parents into it.
Wow.
So now they're like completely, they completely do it.
Nice. That's awesome.
They make plushies.
That's sweet. I think that's about the first time I've heard. I mean, I know people who are of parental type age that and could be parents themselves, but it's definitely that's definitely cool. Like,
yeah, I think it's kind of like a rare thing, I think.
Yeah, it's not very common. I wouldn't say. I know a lot of people whose parents are like cool with it, and I also know a lot of people who have parents that aren't cool with it. But being like outside of that, like I live away from home and I have for many years, so whatever my parents think is whatever, right? So it's
right.
Like but yeah, I've heard stories on both sides of the fence, but very rarely have I heard, oh yeah, I really got into this thing, and then my mom really got into it, and my dad got really into it, and then they started doing this, and it's like, oh, it's neat and exciting. Yay for another unique answer for how you were drawn into the pony fandom. Most of them consist of, my friends watched it and they told me to watch it, and then that was it. It's like,
or I saw it everywhere and I decided to give it a chance.
Right.
It's funny, like when I first got into it, I was pretty bold with it because I was going to college, right? And then I would just be like, I would just play the episode just full screen on my laptop in the middle of the computer lab and just be like, go.
Yeah.
Or in cafeterias, wherever it is, I'm eating and stuff. People walk by and they're just like, really, dude? I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny how like, and then most of my friends there who were like, like computer science friends and stuff, they were just like, they thought it was totally awesome as well. I mean, they're maybe not being into it, but they liked me, and then they knew I liked the show, so they're like, the ponies are so cute.
Yeah. They gave it
awesome.
Yeah, they saw it, and it wasn't a dismissal. They found even though they may not have gotten as into it as maybe we did, they definitely...
Right, but there's no like adverse reaction. It's more of like, just a pleasant reaction kind of thing, which is pretty nice. I guess I was pretty lucky with not having any kind of adverse...
Yeah. I mean, that is... you said you kind of laid it out right there. You were in college, right? Which that definitely going from a graded, K through 12 to college. It's I think anybody might be able to tell you, it's a totally different thing. Like all of a sudden, it starts to be less about who you are.
Yeah.
Well, it's
particularly my department. It's like computer science people. Were like other people. No, just computer science people. We're like the little geeks. People.
Yeah.
We would sit there and program listening to Disney songs
Yeah.
of like princesses singing and stuff, and as we just crunch out all this
Right.
code till midnight.
It becomes more about you're a cool person and the things that you like. I may not like them, but you're a cool person anyways. So I'll just you're still a cool person. It
Yeah,
becomes less about is it cool to be with you or is it cool?
exactly. Like, can I
Yeah,
be seen with you, kind of thing? And what about
right.
other people? They're gonna make fun of me because of you.
Right,
I have
where
to
it
worry about
turns,
that.
yeah, you don't have to, and then it turns, then you turn into real life, and then nobody just cares about anybody at all anymore. So they only care about themselves. So it just kind of morphs. It's weird. You only care about yourself, and then you care a little bit about other people, and then you only care about yourself again. So it's the circle of life, as it were. But so as you're a game developer, or getting into game development,
Right.
the have you played any of like the pony flash games or anything like that? Like any pony related
Um,
like flash type games? It's the simple 2D type stuff.
I think so. I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of them. Like most recently, the hilarious one of getting Twilight Sparkle to walk out of a room and down the stairs.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Uh, but I don't know if I've actually directly played very many of them
Uh,
because it's like,
Oh, I
yeah, no,
remember
I
the
mostly
game.
just keep to myself. I was just like, "Rah."
I mean,
But,
and there's also what's the MMO one that somebody's
Equestria
developed?
Tales.
Yeah, Equestria Tales, and
I
I
haven't
didn't.
heard that one.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily mean to limit it just to like the 2D ones, but like,
Right.
and
Yeah.
obviously there was the fighting is magic, and unfortunately that's
And
not a
I
thing.
mean,
Yeah,
A
that was
Dash of
my first
Adventure.
experience to actually see a game when I was like, at my first con.
yeah,
Uh, I saw it there. I was kind of surprised, right? Because I figured it wasn't like out yet or anything like that. And
right.
then I saw them playing it, and it's like it looks pretty decent. They're like fighting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Kind of sparked the idea of a game.
Yeah.
Right.
So the question this was leading into is if out of those, and if you don't have one, that's fine. But what was your personal favorite that like maybe you've seen and it could be anything like Fighting His Magic was it, even though it doesn't exist in its current incarnation. Like that's fine too. Like
I'm not sure. I mean, the ones that like I see a lot of and most familiar with is like say Legends Equestria. That one's pretty interesting. And there's also this some other game that has interesting. It's all you do is you run around and you can be two different characters, but they have really cool like hair physics kind of thing.
yeah,
I'm not sure exactly what that is, but it was interesting because
Oh.
it's like a little technical achievement thing that was kind of cool.
the ones that a couple ones that really stick out to me or have stuck out in the past were like I forget what it was called, but it was the Colgate one where you had a giant toothbrush and you had to do platforming stuff and you could slow
Yeah.
down time, but like the ultimate, like her ultimate quest in the game was she wanted to become a dentist, like but her cutie mark is the hourglass, so she has time powers. So it was it was kind of like a cool little braid type, but not kind of thing. Like you didn't go back in time, you just slowed down time. So
Just cool. Always fun.
Yeah.
Definitely want to incorporate that in my God. I've got to be able to ability to slow time down and make it more epic.
right, and the other one was one that I saw on Reddit a couple of times, and that was Pinkie Pie's Perilous Platforms, Quad P or whatever I think it was being called for a while, and it was pretty much just Pinkie Pie in a platformer, not even an action platformer, just a platformer, and that one looked pretty cool too. But
Yeah, I have. Now that I think about it, I have played a few of the platformer ones, like early ones. I think there was this one with I can't think of the name for some reason. Daring Do, where you ran around, you'd like avoid the jungle cats and stuff. And it was in development. I'm never seeing it progressing.
yeah, I believe that pretty much all the ones that those two that I mentioned are in indefinite development. I mean, pretty much every game I've seen of the pony fandom so far is in development. So
Yeah.
I'd like to jump in with some of my favorite that I've seen.
yeah, go for it.
There was a pony card that I haven't seen much of.
Oh yeah, I can't forget that one. That one's actually. Is that out yet, or what are they doing with that? Do you know anything?
I don't know. I didn't hear anything.
It looked interesting.
I just remembered it now.
Yeah.
There was an old style adventure game with the Kingdom Crusaders called A Dash of Adventure that they released a demo, and then Fighting and Magic happened, and they're like, we're going underground now. You guys
Oh.
aren't going to hear anything. But it's so amazing because like you could use each character's abilities. Like Apple Bloom would kick stuff, Scootaloo would fly for a little bit of time to get item. It was amazing.
Hmm.
And then the last one was some person made a series of Flash game, and each time that one was released, there's like an alternate reality game behind it, and you had to go into the files,
Huh.
find things. And that's when Cogler and I first met. I was trying to figure that out.
Sweet.
I believe it was Cogler.
Yeah. So the alternate, the other side of that coin is, what's your personal favorite video game in general out of the whole wide world? And yes, I know this question is like picking one of your favorite children, or maybe not at all because maybe you don't play video games. But I would find that very strange if that was the case.
Of course, I mean, there's a little bit of like layers to it. Like, you can never discount like the childhood game would be like, Zelda Ocarina of Time kind of thing. Like, there was a hit at the right age when you play that. It was all amazing.
Right.
But had so much in that. Like every time I think about it back now, like the amount of mechanics and stuff they put into it in a little 64 game compared to others was like immense.
Yeah.
Let's see, like, because we'll currently say like I'm limited to say Xbox console and some PC stuff.
Yeah.
But I've played a lot of Halo. Maybe not super favorite things, but Skyrim. I really like Dragon's Dogma. It's actually pretty good. It has moments where it's like, sometimes the graphics are okay, but it has moments where it's like really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way they had it somewhere, like, the mute main character kind of thing, he would like make noises and stuff, but he would like in cutscenes, he was like communicate with expression, and you're just like, it's awesome. Stuff like that. That was pretty cool. Yeah, it's funny. It's like I'm not super big gamer. I guess like don't have very many titles, but mostly all like the big stuff, like the Skyrim type stuff.
Yeah. What have you been playing like in the last month or last week or so, or anything or nothing at all, or
a fair amount of Minecraft.
Minecraft, okay.
Well, I recently got into that. I was like, okay, maybe I'll play a little bit of it, and actually realize it's actually pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I have to be careful because I'm like, can't get sucked into this. I need to work on my own stuff.
Gotta get personal work done, and gotta work on the game, and so the balancing act is always that's the spice of life, right?
Yeah.
Trying to balance everything in that you want to do.
All work and no play makes Raynaron.
Yeah.
Funny thing I think about me when like a thing about when I play games is like I almost never finish games. I just play the beginning-ish area of it like over and over like hundreds of times. Sometimes like particularly like Skyrim stuff, I always make new characters because when you progression and stuff like that in the middle, the beginning is real interesting. But then when you get OP just a little bit, you're like, this is no more fun. I like it to be difficult and interesting.
You know what games you would really like then? The Borderlands games, because there's always a new person that like picked it up or wants to play it again or hasn't played it in a while, and the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, I want to start a new character. I have seen the beginning of Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2 more times than you can count, and I don't think I've barely seen, like, I finished Borderlands 1, but the only way that I could finish it was like, okay, everybody else, I'm ignoring you. I'm just playing it through on my own because I can't, nobody will sit down and play with me for longer than, we played for 4 hours, and then I don't talk to them for a month, or they play other things and they come back and they're like, I'd like to start a new character. I'm like, why can't we just use the characters that we were using? I don't know. Or something like they pick up and they play with that character with somebody else, another group of friends, and then that character's like,
it's not mine anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like you play and you get into like a sprint of playing the game. You start over, right, and you play, and you're like, I get really far, but then you get like, you played like for 10 hours straight or something like that. That's a crazy thing, right? You're just like, I love this, and then you like, if you ever break the momentum of playing and you come back to it, you're like, I don't want to start where I left off. I'm not going to be good enough at it anymore to really use fit, so I just need to start over again and do it again.
Yeah.
So then you're like, but eventually, the only thing that stops you is like, okay, I got to do all those quests over again. I've done them like 20 times.
Yeah.
When you want to do it again.
Yeah, it's one of those things where eventually, like Borderlands 2, like I'll be just scrolling through my Steam game list and it'll just pop up and I'll be like, I never actually beat that. All right, I'll just take the highest level character, stumble around for a little bit, and then just beat the game, right? So, like,
Yeah.
eventually it'll happen, but it's finally died down where it's like I don't get, a game invite, and then a game invite, and I'll be like, okay, what level character and it's like starting new, and I'm like, no thanks, unless you want to play with my level, and I'd pick the highest level. Unless you want to play with my level 23, you can,
Right.
I'm not interested, right? And most people are just like, oh, well, maybe next time, and it's like, okay, whatever. So
There never is a next time.
exactly, the next time is always some sort of new character or something like that. And I wouldn't even mind. And the other thing too is it comes down to a lot of times they're like, yeah, I have like a level 13, but your level 23 is a little bit too high. And I'm like, no, it's not. Just, I promise to just not kill anything too bad, and the experience spreads out. So if I kill the hard things for you and it's easier, then, you get lots of experience and you can have
Hey,
the
you get to
loot.
level up fast, right?
Exactly. So
You get to like pick all of your skills or whatever, spend your experience point stuff in just the way you want it. So you're like, yeah, I can spend everything into like my
yeah,
attack power, so I can be really strong,
right. And
but even stronger than you because I
yeah,
have like nothing else, so that I can be epic. But
right.
I hit.
especially since respecs in that game are so easy. I mean, you just go and you pay a little bit of money and all your points are back, and you just respec them however you want.
That
But
sounds a lot like Two Worlds. I played that a little bit. You could respect your stuff, and I was like, that's cool.
yeah,
I've never seen that before.
you can respec pretty easily in both of the Borderlands games, like at a drop of the hat. Like you just go up and you pay. I think it's based on a percentage of how much money you actually have, and it's the same with, like, that's how the respawns happen. Is it takes away a certain percentage of the money that you have to respawn you. So as a respawn fee, as it is, but
Right.
so I had seen on your website that potentially that you were maybe looking for people to help out with the game, and I just wanted you to exposit it for a minute or two. Like, who are you, what kind of people are you looking for, if anybody right now, or in general, or like what skill sets, or like video game related or not, are you looking for?
Right. See, I guess currently, like my idea is, since I'm pretty early in development, it's more of like creating a big cache of people in different areas of skill. That way, I can like employ and like set into motion later on down the road once I realize I start needing to fully expand it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I started gathering like all different types of modeling or 2D work and stuff like that. Like particularly ones could use now would be like, say, maybe concept artists, things like that, to create unique looking things, right? Because I want to start like populating. Like I'm pretty good with character creation, but I have yet to say create environment assets like houses and trees and grass and all that stuff, kind of thing. It'd be curious to just have people. If I had everybody, it's all like concepted out or something, or even someone to basically just model all the stuff simply, kind of thing, so you can like refine it later and have it just all blocked out. Could be potentially quite useful, rather than having to be like, okay, I gotta create like a few hundred different things. It could be very time consuming. So it's like, it's just the only difficult part is getting everything organized and ready so you can easily communicate it to other people through maybe not like direct in-person medium kind of thing. You have to like set that stuff up. I'm kind of working on like documenting everything, so I have like a blueprint, so I can kind of like start knowing where I want to go and stuff, and also be able to communicate it to other people so I can actually bring them in to do stuff.
Sweet. So the the last question that I had was that recently at BronyCon, I think you were showing off the game. I was there, but embarrassingly, I was so caught up with hanging out with friends and doing other things that I believe that I missed your presentation. Our friend Sin, who actually got a hold of you initially to do the show, saw it, and that's why he was impressed. But the
Right.
the 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 question I have is, if you've been showing, I saw the videos on the site and they look great, and the thing that's coming up is, I'm wondering if you're going to do any sort of private alpha or maybe a public beta. Like, I mean, I'm sure those are well off, but more question of, are they in your plans, or are you not going to do, are you just going to do more like development journal type stuff, or like, what's your overarching idea on how you're going to present the content, and do the extensive play testing and stuff like that, if any. Keeping it in house is also an option too.
Interesting question. I mean, like I can imagine myself maybe like creating. So like as I say, work on different mechanics and stuff. Like I'll be doing a lot of character mechanic stuff. You would be, you could make little demos or something that people could just like play. It's like at some point I have to learn how to correctly package a game using the Unreal Engine and see if they can install on other people's computers and get like feedback of like, well, what range of computers are handling it. All right, stuff
Right.
like that. That would be something I would want to do. And it also would be interesting to. I might possibly make like little mini game stuff or something like that, and down the road kind of thing, as like, because I imagine it might take quite a while to make the full project.
Right.
You might make little, it's like as you work on certain pieces, like the home life stuff or something like that, just like simple farming or whatever it is, you could do something interesting like that.
Right. Like I saw in one of the videos, you had like a demo of you like moving boxes around, like almost like you could release like a box building puzzle or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, where you could
Yeah.
that way you don't have to just be dark and have nothing out for like a couple of years or something like that. That'd be kind of like, that's a long time to like have nothing really playable out. I think so. It'd be it's easy enough to make little demos like that, like that one with the crate stacking. The only thing I have to learn how to do to make it more user friendly would be create a user interface and stuff that would allow you to open it and close the game and kind of do stuff like that. But that requires me like getting Flash Player and then doing some graphic stuff for the HUD stuff. I'm like,
right,
but I don't have it yet. It's I'll have to get it and learn it.
Right.
Things like that.
Packaging the game together and making it like a product that somebody can use without having the development kit installed on their machine.
Right, like all they'd have to do is just run the exe and it'll install and run.
Right. All right, well, I think that's all my questions, but I think Darkle had some questions too, so.
I do.
Go ahead.
Just curiosity questions. So, Raynaron, are you the only person working on this game right now?
Basically, I have a few people who I'm like bouncing ideas off of and kind of like working with, but in terms of like creating the assets or doing the programming and just in general running everything, it's basically just me so far. Yeah. I guess one thing. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention, in case anyone forgets, I'm also planning on doing like character customization stuff. I probably plan on having it so you could like pick. I would like it to be so you could pick gender kind of thing, and also just like try to make it as much as user friendly as possible in terms of like generating patterns or something, different looks of like the body color stuff, maybe even shapes depending on how that works. Like since you can maybe it looks slightly different than others.
Right.
Hairstyles and then patterning and coloring of the hair stuff. So you could try to match your OC as much as possible. So you could like because I like the idea of being able to be you in the game kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure eventually at some point I'll do stuff where like I'm gonna need background characters and just characters. So I'm like, well, I'm sure I'll be grabbing other people's OCs just to build because it's easier than coming up with like brand new stuff. Yes, just
definitely.
Or if I wanted to like raise money, Kickstarter or something like that, I could like have some things where if you donated some amount, I could actually build your character so you could play that as your main character or something, or voice act it if you wanted to or something.
Right.
I bet that if you just put up a post somewhere it's like, hey, do you want to see your OC in a game? You'd get like 1 million OCs.
Yeah, because people would be like, yeah. And connect to
Obviously.
this, like, hey, you could voice act it too. I need someone to make your voice thing because they have a pretty cool system on here. It's where you just do a pre-setup thing for all rigging up the bass, and all you need is to give it an audio file, and it'll do the lip syncing for you. And
Sweet.
then I can just tweak
Really?
it, and it'll like just do all the talking. Like it'll control the tongue animation and lips and eye blinking and like squinting or whatever facial expressions I want. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I have to learn how to do that more and more advanced so I can get it looking really cool. So I want to make it real cinematic and have cutscenes and stuff, and talking and
Yeah.
So you do plan on having voice acting in the final product?
yeah. And now I'm not sure if I want the main character to talk yet or not. Maybe like you'll make noises and stuff, but I'm not sure if that would be like if you're trying to project yourself as that character, it would be odd to have a voice that wasn't quite right. I think I'm not sure where I will go with that. Maybe
You could
like how
take
Dragon's Dogma did it, where they had voice styles, like you could pick out of 1 through 6 kind of voice styles, whichever matched whatever you liked.
exactly.
Sweet.
Awesome. I definitely plan on stalking your stuff because
Yeah.
definitely a project I'm interested. And
I
when you
definitely try to
post,
post a lot of like like the other day I was like I'd sculpted someone's character, and
mm,
then someone else was talking, was giving me some compliments on it, and he had like a couple like Pegasi OCs. I'm like, I haven't done wings yet, and I'm in a mood for like sculpting stuff, right? So I'm like, I want to like make wings, and I like have a little YouTube video up of me like have a little basic rig of wings working
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to like I didn't do like the short little small wings. I did like larger wings,
Right.
so like they look more epic. Oof,
Yeah.
really fun.
More Celestia and Luna than Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, and like a little bit stylized as more of like realistic bird wings for how they
Right.
fold in and open again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
Cool.
make it so they can be fully animated, so you can do all that stuff. Because that'd be a fun mechanic to work on. Trying to make flying, learning to fly and stuff could be pretty cool.
The the one thing that I always the thing about like the Gmod ponies and and their alternatives in Source Filmmaker too
Right.
is the wings, like the way they're designed to look like the show wings are, they just don't look, they just kind of look like blobby
Yeah.
like
And they're
blobby
very,
things.
and
Yeah.
because of that nature, it's like you can't make them unfurl and
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's just not really built to do that because
Right.
it looks like a show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Right.
Mhm.
Trying to bridge the gap of realism, yet keeping true to the sort of design of the ship. Yeah.
I was
It's
always curious about the Gmod ponies, in particular, like the source filmmaker, because one of the interesting challenges when I first started making these characters is their eyes, how big they are. You
yeah.
can't make them a sphere, so you can't just rotate them, the
Mm-hmm.
geometry of their origin, and like they'll stay nicely within their head. They they need to be held in an odd shape. As I was trying to figure it out, I'm like, it's kind of like I figured it out like a little interesting system of like in Maya it works nice. It could just rotate. It could have like targets to look at, and you could just the eyes
Yeah.
always follow those things. But in the
Ah,
main engine, it doesn't let you do that, and it's nothing that doesn't have that technical power like Maya would.
Yeah.
So it's like it can only rotate the geometry, or you could do a morph target where it moves the surface, like the vertices of the polygons to a new shape, kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So you could basically move a slider, and the eye will move to that direction, kind of thing. Is what I've kind of built. But it makes an interesting limitation because it's like you couldn't just tell it to like look over here. You'd have to write some interesting thing that would adjust those sliders to make it look that direction. It's interesting. It's just curious how Source Filmmaker can handle that, and it probably looks like an apparently because based on from looking at animation, how the eyes maintain like their level all the time, things like that. Like that's how Maya does it. So I'm like, interesting how Source Filmmaker actually still has that advanced capability in
Right.
it.
It it seems, I've always looked at like Source Filmmaker and saw it. It feels kind of like a Maya, but like built on top of a game engine. So it gives you the
Yeah,
like the and I think that's kind of the way that they thought of it. They're like, okay, we want like the power of like the animation of Maya and the be able to build that tool set, but we also want the flexibility of a game engine that can use math and programming and to figure out like, you know, animations and like it's they'll put the tools on top of the base, and then they also added in the you know, the ability to, the thing that I always kind of found interesting with Source Filmmaker is the fact that if you want to move a character, it's, you move it like you would move a video game character. Like, you're like, okay, I want to put this character here, so you go into that character and you run him around, and then you stop, and then, okay, that's where he is, and then you go in and do almost like a posing type thing, right? And yeah, so, and then you can record macros too. Like, example, the big one, since Source Filmmaker pretty much works in TF2, like they use all the TF2 assets are available. Of course, you can put it in other assets, but the default ones are all TF2. But like you can set up a camera, and then you can have like the scout run from left to right, and you are like, you set up the camera, and then you go and you control the scout, and you say, okay, record, and then you run past the camera where the camera's set up, and then you say stop, and then you roll it back, and it's like, oh, there's the scout running across the screen. And it was you controlling the scout the whole time. So, and but the other cool thing too is it's like, okay, I didn't like this camera angle, I want to change it. Well, it has all the information on how you ran past and like what path you took. So all you do is you just add another camera, and it's like, oh, okay, and it just shows it from that angle because it's rendering it all in the game engine anyways. So it just brings it out. Yeah, Source Filmmaker, everything I've seen from it, like the tutorials and the demonstrations and the videos that people are producing, it seems like a very powerful tool. That
I've seen some, I've never had too much problem with the Gmail ponies. I mean, I worked with them before, but they do some pretty good, nice stuff like that, like the Applejack one with the Sunshine and Silver Trucks. That's pretty cool. And previous stuff, like when they did Meet the Ponies and something like that with Derpy. Yeah, that was pretty cool. They get nice rendering, the real time rendering of just the look of it. Yeah, it just looks real nice and soft and stuff. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's good stuff. And I'm excited to see like when Source Filmmaker becomes for real Source Filmmaker, where it's like, yeah, you can design any asset and put it, which you can now, but like the big thing is you're still kind of limited to like levels from TF2. Like if you want like a set, you have to make like a TF2 map, and they only support certain ones now. And I'm hoping that eventually it expands out and you can start building like your own sets and stuff like that, because everything I notice is, like, at least for a long time, it was like, okay, I recognize that TF2 map, and the ponies are doing things in them, but then it kind of takes me out of it because it's a TF2 map. You know what I mean? They find interesting locations and stuff that to make it try to hide the fact, but most of the TF2 maps are in deserts and stuff like that. Like, so yeah, Dark Old.
Yeah, it's funny. It's an interesting idea where instead of like almost playing like what I'm trying to do with like the gameplay stuff, it's almost kind of like when you hand animate a scene, you hand animate to make it look good. What's the difficulty in like the gameplay programs? I'm trying to make it so just with the controller input, it could be like animating that scene, but you just run your character around kind of thing. So it's like, but it's all the programming handles the interpolating what it's doing to move that direction kind of things like that, so it can make it look all cool. It's kind of how I think of it. Animating it, but just letting the engine animate it for you, because you just tell it, I want to go over here.
Right. Yeah. Letting it do its thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the questions in the interview section. So I wanted to give you a chance to plug anything you want, anything you got. Website, Twitter, Facebook group, anything you got, anything you want.
I mean, there's my website, the RaynaronGames.com. That's always a good place, and my DeviantArt. Just not sure how you want me to plug that in through the.
No, app? I mean, we could just they'll be in the show notes and stuff.
I guess so, yeah.
It'll be in the show notes and stuff, but it's RayNaron games.com. And it's RayNaron.deviantart.com.
Yep.
Yep. No Twitter or anything like that people can.
No,
No, not
haven't
right
been
now.
to it. Like, no, not very much Facebook or Twitter or anything like that yet.
It'll all be on the website, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Eventually.
most of like I post made like if you follow like my DeviantArt and website and then I guess YouTube as well. That's where
Yeah.
like all my stuff would appear.
Yeah. It's all pretty much everybody can get to your stuff and you through the webpage, right? All the email and all that stuff there for like applying to help with the game and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's all on the website. So RayNaron games.com. So,
Yep.
okay. I want to thank you for joining us today. It was a great show. I enjoyed having you on. Yeah, Darkle, you anything else?
I am now going to stalk you.
So you have that to look forward to. Darkle stalking you all over the place. So,
Sounds good.
And I think that brings us to the end of another New Luna radio show. And I was your host, Jay Brony, and that's it, everybody. Wave bye.
You can't see me waving. Why do I have to do this every time?
Because it's nice. They just
But
wave
they can't
and
see it.
Wave and smile goodbye, Darkle.
I don't smile.
Oh. Good night, everybody. Have a good evening.